evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. The White House announced today it has revoked the security clearance of former CIA Director John Brennan. It is considering doing the same to other former government officials who, like Brennan, now work as left-wing political pundits. That category would include former Director of National Intelligence Jim Clapper. It's not clear why any of these men still have legal access to classified material. The fact that they retained that power after leaving government for the private sector and punditry is bizarre, and it remained largely unknown to the public until a month ago when we broke the story on this show. Brennan no longer works for the federal government in any capacity. He holds no official post. And yet, according to two sources we spoke to exclusively today, Brennan retains perhaps the most valuable asset he had in government, a top-secret security clearance. Brennan is an out-of-the-closet extremist. This is not a man who should have a security clearance. A month later, that remains true. John Brennan remains thoroughly discredited and unbalanced. Just a few weeks ago, he accused the president of treason for daring to hold a press conference with a foreign leader. Keep in mind that treason is a death penalty offense. Responsible people do not make that charge for political reasons. But Brennan didn't hesitate.
He is, I think, the most divisive president we've ever had in the Oval Office. He is feeding and fueling hatred and animosity and misunderstandings among Americans. I use the term that this is nothing short of treasonous because it is a betrayal of the nation. He is giving aid and comfort to the enemy.
A betrayal of the nation. Would you want a person who, say, casually accused people of murder without evidence to get a security clearance? Obviously, you wouldn't. Brennan is not different. In a statement released today, Brennan called the loss of his clearance an effort to suppress freedom of speech. And yet Brennan is the one who believes that words alone, speech, are a form of treason and should get you sent to prison if not executed. That is unhinged. The government is now belatedly acknowledging that. Lou Dobbs hosts Lou Dobbs Tonight, of course, on Fox Business, and he joins us tonight. Lou, what would be the reason? Can you think of a legitimate reason for John Brennan to retain a security clearance after leaving government for punditry?
I can't even imagine why that would be necessary, why it would be, frankly, allowed. After his first personal attacks, not policy attacks, personal attacks against the President of the United States. And what we now suspect was a John Brennan-inspired and led assault on this president, an effort to subvert his campaign and his administration through the good offices and helpful energies of the FBI. It is, to me, unthinkable that he would be permitted to be anywhere near one of our intelligence agencies or any part of this government.
So you've covered the news for a long time. It wasn't that long ago that the left was, I think, appropriately wary of bureaucrats who worked in secret of our entire intelligence apparatus, right, and the idea of unelected, permanent Washington undoing a democratically elected politician would have been horrifying to them, and now they're defending it. Or am I missing something?
No, I think you are absolutely on point, and I think, by the way, you deserve immense credit for bringing this prominently to the national consciousness a month ago when you started taking up the issue of why in the world are these people who are attacking the President of the United States personally permitted security clearances? How could that even be permitted? And I think you deserve great credit for that. But in terms of the spectacle of seeing the former FBI director, the former CIA director, the National Director of Intelligence, James Clapper, absolutely in full-throated assault against this president and attacking him, as I say, personally, almost weekly, and then it became more frequent. We have never witnessed anything near that in this country's history.
I'm confused, though. If you ran one of these agencies and you had an institutional long-term interest in preserving the credibility of that agency, you'd be very upset with people like John Brennan or Jim Clapper because they detract from your legitimacy. They give rise in people's minds to questions about the deep state. They make people nervous. So why are they not telling these guys, slow it down, get off Twitter, stop being overtly political? You're doing damage to the institution, which they are.
There apparently is plenty of support within the leadership of those agencies, the holdovers, the leftovers, if you will, from the Obama administration not to do precisely that. It is highly questionable to me why we tolerated the former intelligence agency heads becoming part of the mainstream political debate, if you can call their assault on a president personally part of the mainstream debate. But they were attacking him vigorously, viciously, unrelentingly, and it is a spectacle we have never, as I said, witnessed before, and I can't imagine that we'll ever permit again. It is the agencies themselves have so much to answer for. If there was indeed Russian meddling in the election, quote unquote, why in the world didn't our agencies, those three agencies in particular, know about it and do something about it to forestall it, to prevent it, or to at least carry out retribution for that under President Obama? This was on his watch, not President Trump's. And President Obama has much to answer for in leaving behind a group of intelligence agency directors who carried on the ideological assault publicly and without precedent in American history.
So, Lou, finally, Clapper and Brennan are now not government employees, but employees of television news networks.
Right.
You and I are also employees of television news networks.
Probably
Have you
so.
applied for a top secret security clearance? Should I apply for a top secret security clearance?
I personally, I think I've said this to you before, I'm going to hold out for subpoena power. I will leave it to you and others to preserve the security clearances.
Okay. I hope you get it, by the way. Lou Dobbs, thank you very much.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Tucker.